I just got back from my Princess Majestic cruise to Alaska, and I can't wait to share with you all my experiences, what I thought about the cruise, and if I would go on it again. So I want to start off by saying this is actually only the second cruise I've ever been on. The first one was through Norwegian, and it was the Emo's Not Dead cruise, so it's a very different vibe from an Alaskan cruise. I'm not sure exactly what I was expecting from this cruise, but what I experienced was pretty different from my expectations. So I'll start off with the actual stateroom that we stayed in. We stayed in an interior room, and it was actually a lot bigger than I expected. The room on the NCL cruise was very tight and cramped, and this one we had quite a bit of space to walk around. We had places to put our luggage where it wasn't too in the way, and overall I felt comfortable in the room. We also had a mini fridge, which was nice since I had brought canned coffee to bring on and store in the fridge. Which, pro tip, you can bring 12 cans of any beverage per person, non-alcoholic. So take advantage of that if you're someone who drinks coffee like me and doesn't want to drink the cruise's coffee, or if you want to bring your own canned soda. The only issue I really had with the room was a lack of outlets. I fortunately had a USB outlet right behind my pillow next to my bed, but there was really only one other outlet in the room besides that one. The amenities of the cruise ship were pretty nice. The gym had a lot of different equipment, though it did get pretty crowded in the gym. There are outdoor activities, but most of them were closed due to the wind until the very last day of the cruise. There were multiple pools and hot tubs, so it did seem like there was enough space for people to take advantage of those, though I didn't. And in terms of dining, the buffet did get very crowded at peak times, and the restaurants, it usually helped to have a reservation in advance, otherwise you'd have to go after 7:30 p.m. But my main issue with the cruise ship itself was the lack of activities. This was a huge problem for us. During the days at sea, we got really bored because there just weren't very many activities at all, and the ones that they did have were definitely geared to an older crowd. We kind of had a feeling it would be an older crowd, but we thought, hey, we're not partiers, we don't drink, so this might actually be better for us. However, I think even the older people were getting bored with the activities. There just weren't many things scheduled, and the things they did have scheduled were just not very entertaining. So I highly recommend bringing things to entertain yourself. I ended up buying playing cards at one of the ports. They do have games in the library, which we played a lot of Trivial Pursuit. We also didn't pay for the Wi-Fi package, so had we done that, maybe we would have been less bored. But the cruise ship really should provide more entertainment and better quality entertainment. Another tip from my friend, since I didn't have this issue, but she did, she recommended downloading some white noise music to play while you sleep in case you can't deal with like the sounds of the ship. If you're someone who normally has a fan going while they're sleeping, that would be really helpful. So next I want to talk about the food. So the buffet is what you would expect from a cruise ship's buffet. Not great food. Some of it was okay. Personally, my favorite was the Indian section. The chicken curry and the lamb curry were really good. I wish they had actually served that more. But otherwise, everything was pretty bland, to be honest. The restaurant food was maybe a little bit better. You just have to order the right thing. Some days I felt were better than others. My favorite dessert on the cruise was actually the carrot cake from the restaurant, which I'm usually not a big carrot cake person, but this one was really good. Do be cautious because in the restaurants you can order as many appetizers and entrees as you want, so it's easy to go a little too crazy and eat way too much, which is what we did. That combined with the buffet being open all day long, it's easy to put on weight. So that's why we tried to stay as active as possible on the cruise. We used the gym. We actually took the stairs the entire cruise and never took the elevator, not even once. So we did our best to try to combat that. Especially when there's nothing to do on the cruise ship, it's easy to just get bored and just overeat. So be mindful of that. So next I want to talk about the excursions. We actually only did one excursion through the actual cruise line because there are things that we want to do that just weren't offered through the cruise. The first thing that we did was snorkeling. So I believe the snorkeling was actually originally offered through the cruise line, but they ended up canceling it. When we were on the tour, they told us that they actually stopped working with the cruise line because the cruise took so much of their profits and they way overbooked. So it ended up being better for them to just do it separately. So snorkeling in Alaska is a pretty unique and cool experience. I was really worried about how cold it was going to be in the water. They do give you 7mm wetsuits, so it actually wasn't that cold. The only part of you that's exposed is really just like around your mouth because you're covered head to toe in the wetsuit. I will say it was a pretty physically demanding swim. I'm a decent swimmer. I'm not the greatest swimmer ever. I was able to keep up, but some people were struggling who weren't as experienced as swimmers. What was really cool was that the guides would pick up some of the sea life so we could hold it and pass them around. So we got to hold starfish, sea cucumbers, and some other things. but I will say there wasn't really that much to see under the water. My only other experience snorkeling was in Hawaii, so that was a very different experience. I was very spoiled there. We got to see a lot. So there really wasn't too much to see, in my opinion, in Alaska, but I think it's worth it for the experience because it's really cool to say, hey, I snorkeled in Alaska. So our snorkeling experience was in Ketchikan, which was the first port. We were able to do that and then go back to the ship, change and go back out and explore the town, so we had plenty of time there. It was a really cute town. Not too much to do there, but it's nice to just walk around and go to the shops and whatnot. There's also supposed to be this salmon run thing. I'm not really sure. I think you're supposed to just like see all the salmon swimming up the stream, but I didn't see any salmon personally. So our next stop was Juneau, and this is where we did the canoeing excursion, which was through Princess. This one was my pick and I was really excited about it because you get to canoe up to a glacier and a waterfall. So what I will say about the canoeing is it's not that cold. Don't wear too many layers. Like I said in my packing video, which I will link to here. So I was expecting the glacier to be a lot bigger than it was. It's receding, which is really sad, but we did get to see that. And then we got to go get off the boat at the waterfall and go look at that for maybe 10 minutes. My one complaint about the canoeing was they should have given people a lesson in canoeing before we took off on the boat because most of the people had no idea what they were doing. I'm not a canoeing expert by any means, but I have a general idea of what you're supposed to do, and a lot of people were just not trying at all, or they were completely off in their timing, which made it very frustrating. I would say maybe half of the group was just not paddling at all. There were a lot of older people, so I think they were kind of just struggling to keep up, which meant a lot of the responsibility was on the rest of us to make sure that we get across the lake. For me, it was a nice upper body workout, so not too much of a complaint here. Overall, I do recommend the canoeing. I thought it was a cool experience and it's something I would do again. So our third port was Skagway, and this is where we were supposed to go to the Crosshill Wildlife Center. My friend was super excited about this, and there's a whole process involved in just getting to this place, so I was kind of worried about it. This was not through Princess, it's something that we booked separately, so I was really worried about just getting back to the ship on time and making sure everything went smoothly. And when we got there, it was raining, so I was a little bit nervous. I said, hey, you know what, let's just call them up and make sure that it's not canceled. So we called them, and then we find out that they actually changed the time to make it 30 minutes earlier, which meant that we wouldn't be able to make it there on time. So we ended up just doing a short hike there. I'll put a clip in here from when I vlogged that part of the trip. So we are in Skagway right now. We were actually supposed to go to Haines to do this wildlife thing. It's raining, so I was like, let's just double check that it's still going. And then we find out they actually moved it 30 minutes earlier than what it was supposed to be and didn't tell us. And in order to get to Haines, you have to take a ferry. And we were only like just gonna make it on time by taking this ferry and renting a car to get there. So with them changing the time, we will not make it. So we decided to just stay in Skagway, and now we're just doing a little hike because we don't know what else to do here. There's a train we could take, but it doesn't sound that great. It's kind of expensive. So we're just wandering around Skagway today, I guess. Which is really disappointing because we really wanted to go see this wildlife thing, especially Rachel. She was really excited about it, and so was I. So we're disappointed, but hopefully we can still have a good day today. I mean, don't get me wrong, Alaska was absolutely beautiful. Every port was beautiful. The views on the ship were gorgeous. I can't complain about Alaska itself. I would 100% go back to Alaska in a heartbeat. There was one more port in Victoria, which we did end up getting off at, even though we hadn't planned to, just because we wanted to be off of the ship as much as possible. And that should tell you about the quality of this cruise. We did not want to be on that ship. We were so miserable. And I feel like a brat saying this because it's such a cool opportunity and experience to have, but we were so bored. There was really only one activity that I enjoyed, and that was a Harry Potter trivia, which was like 45 minutes long. I'm not sure how it is on other cruises since I've only been on one other one, but the one I did go on, there are activities pretty much all day long. I don't think I was ever bored on that cruise. And my friend said the same thing. She's been on a lot of cruises in the Caribbean and she was never bored on those either. So we feel it's just a Princess Majestic problem. I don't know how the other cruises to Alaska compare to the Princess one, so I can't say if they're better or not, but I would not do this cruise again, to be perfectly honest. Now everybody has their own preferences, so you might think this is an enjoyable cruise for you. For me, it was just not very exciting. I mean, it could be an age thing. Like I said, we were way younger than most of the people on the cruise, but there also were a lot of older people saying the same thing, that they had nothing to do and they were bored. So I don't think it's really just that. Overall, my recommendation would be to do more research on which cruise you select for Alaska and make sure that it has activities that you're interested in. I personally would do a lot more research next time and watch other YouTube videos, look at online forums, and just see what people are saying about the actual activities on board the ship so that you're not bored on all the days at sea. I also would make sure you double check and confirm all of your excursions. Make sure they're still actually happening. Things get canceled a lot. Things can go wrong a lot, especially with the weather. So just make sure it's all happening and that you know exactly where you're supposed to be and when. So if I had to rate the Princess Majestic Alaska cruise out of 10, I would probably give it a 4. And those 4 points are mostly because of the excursions and the places that we went and the beautiful things we got to see, rather than the actual cruise ship experience. I will say the people who worked on the cruise ship were all very friendly and polite and provided a great customer service experience to us all around. I have no complaints regarding the people who worked on the ship, but the overall experience on the cruise ship itself was definitely lacking, and hopefully they make some changes to make it a better experience for everyone. I had really been looking forward to this trip, so it was pretty disappointing when we had all these days at sea that we were just so bored. But overall, Alaska is an absolutely beautiful place. I really want to go back someday. Probably not on a cruise. I might just fly in, rent a car, do it some other way. So if you've been on this cruise, I would love to hear about your experience in the comments and let me know if this video was helpful for you. Thank you so much for watching.